the publishing group, there's a publishing group known as London NewsQuest. Now, London NewsQuest owns many newspapers, which, deriving their income from advertisements, these newspapers are delivered free of charge to every home in the district. Whether you want the newspaper or not, it comes through your front door. Now, we, the Cliftons, happen to reside in Bromley, which is in southeast London, and a newspaper called the Bromley News Shopper comes through our door week by week. I never open it. Helen does. They're for all to see in the pages, including for children to see and adolescent readers to see, are advertisements for sexual services by local brothels and escort agencies. This is, of course, and here's the point, directly connected to the vexed and growing issue of human trafficking, since many of the girls in the brothels in the part of London where we live, brothels in the part of London where we live, are trafficked, and they're there against their will. They did not choose it. So the newspaper publishing group, in taking money for these advertisements, is in part living off immoral earnings, because it's the sex establishments that buy the space in the newspaper. And if you work for that newspaper, that's the money that pays your salary and puts food on your table. So the staff, not only the publishing house, but the staff are in part living indirectly off immoral earnings and also indirectly or even directly supporting human trafficking. It's as simple as that, and they don't seem to realize it. So, the Salvation Army in our neighboring suburb of Croydon in South London was a prime mover in creating a group called Croydon Community Against Trafficking. And they made close relations with the local police and lobbied in a professional manner to have sex establishments closed down. There's that word down again. There's a theme here. Also, as Christians, they lobbied London NewsQuest, the publishing house, since the Croydon Guardian is owned by them and carried the same advertisements as the paper we were getting at home, the Bromley News Shopper. And help was received from a Christian coalition known as Stop the Traffic. Added to all of this, my wife, Helen here, in her capacity as the Army's world president of women's ministries, and also as a private citizen residing in Bromley, she made weekly written representations to the female editor, a woman editor, of the Bromley News Shopper, in an attempt to sensitize the editor's conscience regarding the plight of trafficked women and the role her newspaper was carrying out against their interests and well-being. This went on for months and months and months, and I was the one who would pick up the letter that Helen had written and the various enclosures, and I had to go up to the, what do you call them here? The post box, the mailbox, okay, and make sure it got off. This went on for months. Word has now been received, just in July, that the publishing house, London NewsQuest, has decided to no longer carry the offensive so-called adult, and they're not adult at all, are they? These advertisements. Here, then, is another quiet victory for God's people. Let me hear it. Now, that's just a very small illustration. But it does show you how you have to be organized and how you have to hang in. I married a lady who's like a dog with a bone. Once she gets hold of it, there's no taking it away. God help that editor who received these things week after week after week after week. And I used to say to her, darling, how long are you going to keep it up? She said, till it changes. Just like that. And I'm proud of her and all the others who combined with her in that local initiative for decency and in the interests not only of the children delivering the newspapers and knowing its contents, but also in the interests of those entrapped in the local sex establishments. Now, In many parts of the world, the Salvation Army is opening safe houses for these women. And sometimes children emerge from them, and sometimes young men. It's mostly women. And we do not say where the safe houses are for obvious reasons. But we're able sometimes to use our international network to get these women home in safety, deliver them to the airport and have them met at the other end, and get them back to their families if that's what they want. We can also work with them if they want, so that we can regularize their immigrant status in a country, and they can come into the care and protection of the Salvation Army, no strings attached. There are other safe houses where strings are attached. For example, we know of one in the United Kingdom where the women can come and be taken care of only if they have previously agreed to go into court and give evidence against the people who trafficked them. We don't attach strings like that. We just say, come and you'll be safe and you'll be taken care of. We belong to Jesus Christ. Simple as that. It's come to the point where in some places, when the police are planning their raids, they contact the army first and say, it's going to be tonight or it's going to be tomorrow night. Are you ready? And so we're just glad to help. Now, the establishing of our new International Social Justice Commission is designed to give strong and articulate support to social justice initiatives by Salvationists around the world. It will also allow us to network intelligently and sensitively with international bodies like the United Nations in New York, in Geneva, in Vienna, and now also in Nairobi. All this is, as far as we are concerned, simply a further step of obedience to God. The price of silence or of inactivity in the face of modern instances of social injustice is simply too high. We're not prepared to pay it. We know that 1.3 billion people live on less than $1 a day. Most of those are women. According to UNICEF statistics, 600 million children live in abject penury, and we have seen some of that as we've moved around the world. And the International Labour Organization, the ILO, has published figures a few years ago showing that 246 million children are in child labor. And the ILO also tell us that 8.4 million children are slaves, or are trafficked, or are in bonded labor, or are in prostitution. They're caged birds. And so it goes on. Now, these are mega statistics which all of us find daunting, and you can't take them in. But it would be just too easy to throw up our hands and surrender to the evils of poverty and exploitation. So today's public and formal dedication of the International Social Justice Commission should be seen by everybody as a signal that the Salvation Army is still in the fight. William Booth said, I'll fight to the very end. Now, those words are inscribed on the walls of our offices at international headquarters in London so that we see them every day. With this as our heritage, we will not give up, however long and hard the road.